The day begins not with sound, but with silence. In the small stone building where the forge rests, there is no movement yet, only the weight of still air. The walls are darkened with years of smoke, beams heavy above, shutters closed against. The outside. Tools hang in order on their pegs, each one resting as if in sleep. The hammers with their worn handles, the tongs shaped to different grips, the chisels and punches lined neatly in a row. Even the anvil, solid and immovable, waits. In silence, its broad face catching the faintest glint of early light through the cracks in the shutters. Before we drift into tonight's story, make sure to subscribe so you'll never miss a gentle journey through history. Why begin here in quiet? The blacksmith would say, because without silence, sound has no meaning. The forge's rhythm, the ring of iron, the hiss of water, the roar of fire must rise out of stillness to be heard as more than noise. Silence is the foundation upon which the day is built. The blacksmith rises before others stir. He has long since trained his body to wake with the first light, not through urgency but through habit. Years of repetition have made it as natural as breath. He dresses slowly, carefully. His shirt is thick and rough, bearing old burns and stains that will never wash out. His leather apron is worn, marked with soot, polished at the chest where it has rubbed against him again and again. His boots are scuffed, cracked at the edges, yet sturdy still. Each piece of clothing is more than cloth or leather. Each is a record of his work, carrying the memory of fire and iron. He steps outside briefly into the gray light of dawn. The air is cool, touched with dew. From the fields beyond the village comes the faint smell of grass and earth, damp and sweet. He stands for a moment, breathing it in before turning back to the workshop. Inside, the air is different, heavier, darker, filled with the residue of coal and smoke. The contrast is sharp, yet familiar. One scent belongs to the world, the other to his craft. He pauses in the doorway. Why does the forge feel like home when his house lies elsewhere? He answers, because the forge is where his hours truly live. It is where his strength finds purpose, where fire and hammer shape not only iron but also time itself. Each mark on the walls, each groove worn into the bench, each spark that once leapt and died here, they are part of his life's measure. Inside, the forge is as it was left. On the bench rests yesterday's work, a bent hinge, a handful of unfinished nails, a small chisel, awaiting sharpening. Nothing here clamors for attention, yet each task carries quiet insistence. The hearth itself is still filled with gray ash. He draws the poker across it, stirring lightly. Fragments crumble beneath. The touch. Some pieces of charcoal remain, but their fire has long since fled. Why repeat the same beginning every morning, sweeping ashes, laying kindling, feeding coal? He answers, because repetition is the path to certainty. To repeat an action until it is second nature is to remove chance. The forge will only serve him if it is given what it needs, and so he begins in the same way every day, without deviation. Habit is his safeguard. The bellows stand by the hearth, their leather stretched, their wooden arms worn smooth from years of use. They look inert now, like lungs without breath. The blacksmith runs his hand along them, checking the straps and hinges. They will soon be asked to breathe life into the fire once more, and he must be sure they are ready. A smith's tools must be tended with the same care as his iron, for they are the bridge between his strength and his craft. He moves to the woodpile outside, where logs are stacked neatly under cover. He selects small pieces first, slivers of kindling that catch. Quickly then heavier lengths to feed the growing fire. A sack of coal rests nearby, black dust already coating its surface. He hefts it over his shoulder, returning inside with steady steps. On the hearth he lays the fire as he has laid it countless times. Wood at the base, kindling cross-laid, coal heaped above. There is nothing careless in the arrangement. Fire, he knows, responds to order. Why so much care for something as simple as a fire? He answers, because the fire is not simple. It decides the day. A weak flame makes weak iron. A strong flame shapes strong work. The blacksmith honors this truth not with words, but with patience. From the bench he takes his flint and steel. Striking them together, he sends sparks into the waiting tinder. Once, twice, again, until a spark lingers, glowing faintly. He bends low, cupping his hand, breathing gently. The glow brightens, smoke curling upward. Then the first flame appears, delicate and small. He feeds it carefully, placing kindling just so, until the flame catches fully and begins to spread. The bellows give it air, each press sending a breath. That makes the fire leap higher. Soon the hearth is alive, coals glowing, flames licking upward, heat radiating into the room. He steps back, watching. The fire is young still, not yet at its full strength. He does not rush it. To rush is to weaken. He waits, letting it grow steady, trusting in the rhythm of air, wood, and coal. In the dance of flame he sees something, both ordinary and eternal. Why wait so long when the work presses? He answers, because patience now saves effort later. Iron listens only to the right heat, and that heat cannot be forced. The smith who hurries loses strength. The smith who waits gains it. The workshop shifts as the fire grows. Shadows jump on the walls. The tools gleam faintly in the flickering light. The anvil, once cold and gray, now glows with reflections of flame. The air warms, thickens, carries the sharp tang of coal smoke. In this moment, the forge feels alive again, as though it has drawn breath after a night of stillness. The blacksmith rests his hand on the hammer at his side. Its wooden handle is worn smooth, its head scarred with countless strikes. To others, it may look like nothing more than iron on wood. To him it is a companion, one that is never spoken yet has always answered. He lifts it slightly, testing the weight. Familiar, dependable. Why does the first strike of the day feel different from all that follow? He answers, because it is not merely a blow. It is a declaration. It wakes the forge, wakes the rhythm, wakes the body itself. All the hours ahead will join in a pattern, but the first sound is the call that begins them. On the anvil lies the bent hinge from yesterday. A small task, but a fitting first. He places it carefully, raises the hammer, and lets it fall. The sound is sharp, ringing, echoing from stone wall to stone wall. It lingers in the air before fading. Silence is broken. The day has truly begun. Why does this sound carry beyond the forge, drifting into the village outside? He answers, because sound belongs not only to the one who makes it, but to all who hear. Perhaps a farmer pausing in his yard will think, the smith is at work again. Perhaps a child will listen and feel comfort, knowing that the forge's voice means tools will be mended, hinges made, nails fashioned. The sound is reassurance. The hinge bends slowly back to shape under repeated blows. He heats it in the fire, watches it glow, strikes again. Sparks fly, brief stars that flare and vanish. Steam hisses when the metal is dipped in water. With each action, the forge grows more itself, the rhythm more certain. The hinge is done. He sets it aside on the bench, the first task complete. Around him, the workshop hums, now with life. Fire crackling, bellows sighing, iron ringing, water hissing. The silence of dawn is gone, replaced by the living song of the forge. And yet, beneath it all, silence still waits, patient, knowing it will return when the day is done. The forge is no longer silent. The first flame has caught, the bellows have breathed life into it, and now the fire glows steadily in the hearth. Yet this is only the beginning. To shape iron, the fire must be coaxed from warmth into true power. And here lies the hook. Why does strength begin not with sudden force, but with careful tending? The blacksmith answers, because a steady fire grows truer than a rushing one. Just as the hand must learn patience, so must the flame be guided. He presses the bellows slowly, rhythmically, each stroke like a heartbeat. The coals respond with a deeper glow, their surface shifting from dull red into brighter shades of orange. Sparks leap upward, crackling against the stone chimney. The heat begins to push outward, no longer gentle, but insistent. Soon it will fill the entire space, clinging to skin, clothing, and breath. The blacksmith steps back slightly, letting the fire find its strength. His eyes move across the workshop. On the benches rest today's materials. Iron rods, scrapped to be reshaped. Half-finished tools waiting for attention. Each piece holds potential, but none can be touched yet. The forge must come first. Why does iron wait on fire? He answers, because iron alone is stubborn, unyielding. Cold, it resists. Only in the presence of fire does it soften, ready to take shape. The fire is not only a tool, it is the key that unlocks the work. He lifts a bar of raw iron, dark and heavy in his tongs, and slides it into the coals. At first it lies unchanged, swallowed by the red glow. He watches closely. Iron speaks in color. When it shines faint red, it is too early. When it glows bright orange, it begins to yield. When it burns white, it has gone too far. The balance must be seen and judged with care. The waiting is long, and yet it is not wasted. While the iron rests in the fire, the blacksmith tends to his tools. He sharpens a chisel on the whetstone, the rasping sound steady and low. He oils the hinge of the bellows, ensuring the wood moves smoothly. He brushes ashes from the anvil's face, polishing the surface with practice strokes. Each task is small, yet each one matters. Why tend to tools so faithfully? He answers, because they answer him only as well as he answers them. A dull chisel resists, a stiff bellows falters, a dirty anvil mars the work. The smith's hand is only as strong as what it holds. The bar of iron begins to glow faintly. He draws it out with the tongs, lays it across the anvil, and studies its color too soon. He places it back in the fire, adds more coal, and presses the bellows again. Sparks rise, heat thickens, the glow deepens. Slowly, the iron moves toward readiness. He waits, leaning lightly on the hammer, eyes never straying, far from the hearth. The sound of the bellows fills the room. Push, sigh, push, sigh. It is like breathing, steady and alive. Outside, the village grows louder with morning hooves on the road. A cart rolling past, distant voices calling to one another. The forge absorbs it all, its rhythm blending with the world beyond. The blacksmith asks, why does the forge's rhythm feel like a heartbeat, steady and unbroken? He answers, because it is the measure of life in this place. As long as fire breathes, work continues. When fire dies, the day ends. The forge beats time not with a clock, but with its own breath. At last, the iron glows bright enough. He draws it out once more. In the dim light of the workshop, it shines orange-red, alive with heat. He lays it on the anvil, lifts the hammer, and brings it down. The sound rings out sharp and true. Sparks leap, the bar flattens slightly, the rhythm begins. Strike after strike, each blow steady, deliberate, purposeful. If you're enjoying this quiet stroll through history, don't forget to subscribe for more peaceful stories like this. The forge has reached its full strength now. The fire breathes hot and steady, the coals glowing with fierce light. The anvil gleams faintly, polished by years of strikes. The hammer rests in the blacksmith's hand, its weight familiar, almost comforting. All is ready for the first true work of the day. And here lies the hook. Why does the first strike of the hammer feel heavier than all that follow? He answers, because it carries more than force. It carries intention. It awakens not just the iron, but the rhythm of the forge itself. The blacksmith lifts the glowing bar of iron from the fire. Its surface shimmers orange-red, alive with heat. He sets it on the anvil, breathes once, and raises the hammer high. Then, with a motion both practiced and deliberate, he brings it down. The sound rings out clear, sharp, resonant. It echoes against the walls, climbs into the beams, spills through the shutters, into the open air. It is not only a sound of labor, it is a sound of presence declaring to all who hear, the forge is alive today. Why does sound matter in work meant for the hands? He answers, because sound guides the smith as much as sight. The ear knows if the strike is true, if the hammer has met the iron squarely, if the rhythm is steady. The song of the forge is as much a teacher as the fire. He strikes again and again. Each blow shapes the iron slightly, drawing it longer, thinner, more precise. Sparks scatter right against the dim workshop. Steam hisses when the bar is dipped in water, the sudden cloud, rising like breath from the iron itself. The hammer finds its rhythm. Strike, lift, steady, unwavering, patient. The blacksmith asks, does repetition dull the mind? He answers, no, it sharpens it. In the rhythm of labor, thoughts clear. Each motion is familiar, yet never empty. With each blow, the iron changes, and with it, the work moves forward. The first strike was heavy with intention. The strikes that follow are lighter in spirit, though no less firm. They flow into one another like notes in a quiet song. The iron yields slowly, not in haste, but in obedience to patience. Outside, life continues. The sounds of the village filter faintly through. A dog barking, wheels of a cart creaking, voices calling across the lane. To those passing by, the ringing of the anvil is part of the village itself, as constant as the turning of the seasons. The blacksmith does not pause to listen, yet he knows he is heard. He asks, "Does the village depend on this sound?" He answers, "Yes, though often without knowing." The ring of the hammer is not only noise, it is reassurance. It means nails will be ready for builders, plowshares mended for farmers, hinges made for carpenters. The sound of the hammer is the promise of work fulfilled. The iron cools too quickly. He slides it back into the fire, waits for the glow to return, then lifts it again. The hammer resumes, steady and calm. This rhythm will carry him through the day, each strike an echo of the first, each one building upon it. The forge breathes, the iron yields, the hammer sings, and from the first strike forward, the day belongs to the blacksmith. The forge breathes steadily, the anvil hums with the memory of strikes, and the day begins to settle into its rhythm. The blacksmith now turns to the small tasks, the kind that may seem ordinary, yet carry weight in the life of the village. Nails, hinges, hooks, latches, each is simple in form, yet essential in use. And here lies the hook. What makes a small tool as important as a great work? He answers, because without the small, the great cannot stand. A door does not swing without its hinge. A roof does not hold without its nails. A cart does not carry without its pins. The quiet strength of daily life rests on small things. He takes a thin rod of iron glowing from the fire and lays it across the anvil. With careful blows he draws it out, longer and finer, until it tapers at one end. Another strike flattens the head. A nail begins to take shape, simple and true. He makes another and another. The work is repetitive, yet not dull. Each nail is slightly different, each one a fresh test of precision. Why repeat the same task so many times? He answers, because repetition builds not only the object, but the hand itself. The hammer grows more certain, the eye more exact, the rhythm more steady. To shape many is to shape the self. A pile of nails gathers on the bench, their heads glinting faintly in the firelight. To anyone else they may seem insignificant. To the blacksmith they are quiet victories. Each one carries the mark of his hand, each one ready to serve. Next he turns to a hinge. A flat bar is heated, then bent carefully around a rounded form. The hammer strikes gently, persuading the metal into its curve. The shape is slow to emerge, but it does emerge, steady and sure. The hinge will allow a door to open and close with ease, a motion so common that few ever think of the iron that makes it possible. Why shape what will go unseen, hidden once it is fitted? He answers, because usefulness is its own reward. A tool does not need to be admired to be valuable. Its worth lies in the service it gives. Hooks follow, drawn and bent with tongs, their curves smoothed by steady strikes. Latches are cut, shaped, cooled in water, then polished with care. The bench fills with small things, each one carrying the quiet strength of necessity. The blacksmith asks, "Is there honor in making what seems ordinary?" He answers, "Yes, for the ordinary sustains life more than the rare. A sword may be admired, but a nail is needed. The forge gives both, but it is the humble work that binds the days together." The morning passes in this rhythm: fire, hammer, water, polish. Each task flows into the next. the forge breathing steadily, the blacksmith moving with calm certainty. And as the pile of small tools grows, so too does the quiet assurance that the village will carry on, its doors swinging, its carts rolling, its homes holding firm. By now the morning has taken on its steady pace. The fire glows bright, the hammer rings with familiar cadence, and the blacksmith's body moves with quiet certainty. Each action follows the last, forming a pattern as regular as breathing. And here lies the hook. Can rhythm itself be a kind of work? He answers, yes, for rhythm is the companion of the smith. It steadies the hand, lightens the burden, and turns repetition into flow. Without rhythm, the forge would be chaos. With rhythm, it becomes almost music. The hammer falls again and again, each blow measured, neither rushed nor delayed. The bellows answer in their slow exhalations, feeding the fire at intervals, as if the forge itself were drawing breath. Water hisses in reply when hot iron meets, the trough sending up a cloud of steam that vanishes almost at once. Strike, sigh, hiss, a song without words, carried by labor. Why does rhythm matter in work of strength? He answers, because strength alone tires quickly. Rhythm shares the weight. The arm follows the hammer follows the iron follows the fire. Each depends on the other, and together they balance. The blacksmith feels this rhythm in his very bones. His feet plant firmly, his shoulders rise and fall, his arms swing in measured arcs. He does not count the blows, yet he knows their number. He does not mark the minutes, yet he knows their passing. The forge teaches him time, in its own way, not by clock or bell, but by the steady repetition of sound and motion. Outside, the world passes differently. Villagers walk by, speaking in quick tones. Carts rumble on the road, animals shift and stir. Their lives are filled with many small interruptions. But here, within the workshop, time stretches. Rhythm smooths away the rough edges of the hours, making them flow evenly. The blacksmith asks, does the rhythm make the day shorter or longer? He answers, both. It shortens the burden of labor, for the body moves without strain. Yet it lengthens the sense of presence, for each moment is lived fully, repeated without distraction. On the anvil lies a farmer's tool, worn from use. The hammer strikes in steady rhythm, reshaping, strengthening, returning it to purpose. The tool hisses in water, then glows again in the fire. Each cycle repeats fire, hammer, water, polish, until the tool is made whole once more. The rhythm holds unbroken, and with it the forge carries the day forward. By late morning, the forge is alive not only with fire and iron, but with footsteps at the door. The blacksmith is not alone in his work, for the needs of the village soon find their way to his hearth. And here lies the hook. Why does the forge draw people as surely as the market or the well? He answers, because every household, every trade, every farm depends on iron. The forge is not a place of luxury, but of necessity, and necessity always calls. The first visitor arrives quietly, a farmer, carrying a worn plowshare under his arm. Its edge is chipped, dulled by stone and soil. He sets it down upon the bench, nodding in greeting. Few words are needed. The iron speaks for itself. The blacksmith lifts the tool, studies its wear, and gives a slow nod in return. The work is clear. Why so few words in a place where labor is heavy? He answers, because iron is plain and honest. It shows what it needs without speech, and the smith replies in kind. A glance, a gesture, a nod is often enough. As the farmer steps back, the blacksmith slides the plowshare into the fire. The rhythm resumes. Bellows breathing, fire roaring, iron glowing. Sparks fly as hammer meets metal. The farmer watches quietly, his hat in his hands, the sound of the anvil filling the space between them. When the tool is whole again, sharpened and strong, the blacksmith quenches it, wipes it, and lays it on the bench. The farmer smiles faintly, leaves a coin, and carries his tool back into the day. Soon after, a carpenter arrives with a bundle of bent nails salvaged from old boards. He asks for new ones, stronger and straighter. The blacksmith heats, hammers, shapes, and delivers a small pile of fresh nails, their heads still warm to the touch. The carpenter pockets them, grateful, knowing they will hold together beams and planks for years to come. Why serve so many trades, from farmer to carpenter to wheelwright? He answers, because iron binds all crafts together. Without it, the plow cannot turn, the cart cannot roll, the house cannot stand. The forge is the hidden foundation of the village. Children sometimes linger near the doorway, peering in with wide eyes, drawn by the fire's glow and the hammer's song. The blacksmith lets them watch, though never too near. He knows the fire's beauty can deceive it as bright and warm, yet merciless to the careless hand. Still, their wonder reminds him of his own youth, when he first saw sparks leap like stars and longed to command them. Why let children watch when they cannot yet understand the work? He answers, because wonder is the beginning of skill. A boy who watches today may one day take up the hammer himself. A girl who listens to the ring of the anvil may one day guide another's hand to the forge. The seed is planted in silence, and in time it grows. By midday, the workshop has seen many visitors, some with tools to mend, some with needs to fill, some with nothing but curiosity. Each leaves with something, whether iron in hand or simply the memory of fire and sound. The forge is not only the blacksmith's place of work, it is the village's hearth of necessity, a place where lives intersect, quietly, steadily, without fanfare. By the time the sun climbs higher, the forge is no longer just the blacksmith's private world of fire and iron. The warmth and the ringing sound reach beyond the walls, and soon others arrive, drawn not by curiosity alone, but by the quiet demands of daily life. And here lies the hook. Why does the forge become a gathering place, though it is filled with smoke, heat, and heavy labor? He answers, because every path of work in the village eventually leads here. The farmer's plow, the carpenter's nails, the wheelwright's rings, all of them begin and end at the anvil. The forge is not only a workshop, it is a quiet crossing point of lives. The first visitor of the day approaches with measured steps. A farmer, his boots worn from the fields, carries a plowshare under his arm. The edge is blunted, its surface scored with lines where it has met stone after stone in the soil. Without a word, he sets it down on the bench. The blacksmith studies it, runs his hand along its weight, then looks up. A nod passes between them, an agreement made without speech. The iron itself has spoken. Why are so few words exchanged here when other trades are filled with bargaining, persuasion, or chatter? He answers, because iron is plain. It reveals its need with clarity. and the smith replies with certainty. Words would only slow what is already understood. The plowshare slides into the fire, swallowed by the glow of the coals. The bellows breathe, the flame deepens, and soon the metal shines red. With steady tongs the blacksmith lays it upon the anvil. The hammer rises and falls, each strike ringing clear, sparks flying in brief arcs before vanishing in the air. The farmer stands quietly nearby, hat in his hands, watching the tool regain its edge. He has seen this many times, yet he still waits with patience, as though listening to the forge's song. When the plowshare is quenched, steam curling upward in a sudden sigh, the blacksmith lifts it once more, sharp and strong. He wipes it clean, sets it on the bench. The farmer nods, leaves a coin beside it, and carries the tool away. Nothing more is needed. His work in the field will continue tomorrow, made possible by today's quiet visit. Soon after, a carpenter steps through the door, holding a small bundle of bent nails. They are twisted, heads flattened from long use, pulled from boards that could no longer hold them. He places them on the bench with a wry smile, knowing what he asks. The blacksmith does not waste the old ones. Instead, he shapes new. Thin rods of iron glow are drawn out, their ends flattened beneath the hammer. In a short time, a neat pile of nails rests on the bench, their forms plain yet perfect. The carpenter gathers them, satisfied, leaving behind the bent remnants of what once was. Why give time to so many small things, nails, hinges, hooks, when greater works of iron might bring more pride? He answers, because small things hold up the world. Without nails, no roof stands. Without hinges, no door opens. The greatness of daily life rests quietly upon the ordinary. At the doorway, a wheelwright appears next, with a rim cracked from the strain of carrying heavy loads. He sets it down with a grunt, explaining briefly how it failed. The blacksmith listens, nods, then turns to the fire once more. The cycle repeats. Heat, hammer, quench, polish. The wheel will soon turn again, carrying grain, timber, or stone along the rutted roads of the countryside. Even children wander close, their eyes wide with curiosity. They linger just beyond the threshold, fascinated by the sparks and the sound. The blacksmith lets them stay, though he warns with a glance not to come too near. The fire glows beautifully, but he knows it punishes carelessness without mercy. Still, their wonder reminds him of his own first days, when he too stood at the edge of a forge, spellbound by the brightness of flame and the ringing of metal. Why allow them to watch when they cannot yet grasp the craft? He answers, because wonder is the seed of skill. Today they watch, tomorrow they may learn, and one day the rhythm of the hammer may pass into their own hands. The forge does not belong only to the present. It plants its roots in the future. By midday, the forge has seen many visitors, some with tools worn by honest labor, some with requests for small pieces yet to be made, and some who linger only long enough to watch and listen. Each leaves with something, whether iron in hand, or reassurance that the fire still burns. The blacksmith reflects, is the forge only his, or does it belong to all who enter? He answers, it belongs to both. His hands guide the work, yet the work itself belongs to the village. Without them, the forge would stand idle. Without him, their tools would fall silent. Together, they keep life turning. And so, with each visitor, The forge becomes not just a place of labor, but a quiet hearth for the community, its heat shared, its rhythm heard, its strength carried outward into the world beyond its walls. Let's pause for just a moment, and if you haven't already, subscribe to join us for more calm stories. By midday, the forge is no longer just warm, it is heavy with heat, pressing against skin and breath alike. The air wavers above the hearth, shimmering, as if the fire has bent it. The blacksmith wipes his brow, the cloth already damp, and continues his work. And here lies the hook. Why continue in such heat when others step into shade or breeze? He answers, because the forge does not wait for comfort. Iron yields only to fire, and fire brings heat. To master one, the smith must endure the other. The bellows groan as he presses them, each stroke sending another gust into the coals. The fire roars, sparks leap, and the iron glows fiercely once again. The anvil waits, hot from hours of labor, its surface gleaming with a faint sheen of ash and oil. The blacksmith lifts the iron with his tongs. It shines almost white at its center, orange at the edges, the perfect moment for shaping. He brings it down on the anvil, hammer rising and falling, each strike ringing sharper now in the thick air. Sweat runs down his face, but he does not pause. The rhythm holds steady, even as the body tires. Why not slow the pace when the day grows heavy? He answers, because rhythm itself carries him forward. To stop too long would break the flow, make the work harder when resumed. Better to move steadily, even in weariness, than to falter in the middle. Outside, the world also feels the weight of the sun. The lane beyond the workshop is quieter now. Farmers rest in what shade they can find. Animals stand drowsy in their pens, and even children's voices grow softer. But in the forge, the sound of the hammer continues, unbroken, filling the still air. The blacksmith quenches the iron in the trough, steam rising in a sudden white cloud. The hiss is louder now, sharp against the silence of noon. He breathes deeply, the warm air thick in his lungs, then places another bar into the coals. He asks, is there value in pressing through the hardest hour when labor feels most difficult? He answers, yes, because endurance shapes the smith as surely as the hammer shapes the iron. To keep working when it would be easier to stop is to forge the will, not only the metal. Still, he is not without wisdom. Between strikes he takes a moment to drink cool water from a jug at the bench. The relief is brief, but enough. He leans for a moment in the shadow of the wall, letting the air move faintly across his face. Then, with quiet resolve, he returns to the fire once more. The heat of the day is not a punishment. It is a test, one that comes every afternoon, year after year. And each time the blacksmith meets it, he grows more certain, more steady, more rooted in the rhythm of his craft. The forge breathes, the hammer sings, and even in the hottest hours, the work continues. As the afternoon unfolds, the blacksmith turns from his smaller tasks toward the larger work that ties him more closely to the needs of the village. These are not the nails or hooks he shapes in steady repetition, but the tools upon which the daily life of many others depends. And here lies the hook, what makes the work of one man's hands ripple outward into the lives of many. He answers, because a single plow can feed dozens, a cart can carry the burdens of many homes, a hinge can open doors for years. The blacksmith's work is quiet, but its reach is wide. On the bench rests a scythe blade, worn thin and dulled from the harvests of many summers. The farmer who left it knows his fields will not wait. The blade must be made sharp again. The blacksmith lifts it, studies its edge, and slides it into the fire. Slowly, as the iron glows, he hammers along its length, striking carefully so as not to crack the thin metal. He moves patiently, giving it back the strength to cut once more. Why treat an old blade with such care, when forging a new one might bring more pride? He answers, because mending what has served well honors both the tool and the labor it has carried. To restore is as worthy as to create. When the blade is quenched and polished, it gleams faintly in the firelight. Soon it will return to the field, cutting quietly through grain, helping gather food that will fill many tables. The blacksmith sets it aside with quiet satisfaction. Next comes the wheel rim of a cart, cracked from strain on rough roads. Without it, the cart stands useless, its burden stranded. The blacksmith heats the rim, hammers it true, welds the break closed, and strengthens its curve. The work is heavy, the blows resounding deeper, but the rhythm holds. Soon, the wheel will turn again, carrying timber, grain, or stone along the village paths. Why take pride in such plain work? He answers, because plain work sustains life. It is not the beauty of the object that matters most, but the strength it carries into daily use. Other tasks follow: a hinge for the mill door, a hook for a barn, a shear for another plow. Each piece is different, yet all share the same purpose: to keep the village moving, working, living. The blacksmith asks, does the village think often of the forge, or does it pass unnoticed? He answers, most think little of it, just as one rarely thinks of the heartbeat that sustains the body. Yet both are constant, quiet, and essential. By late afternoon, the benches are filled with finished work, each piece destined to leave the forge and find its place in the life of the village. The blacksmith wipes the sweat from his brow, feeling the weight of labor not only in his muscles, but also in the satisfaction that his strength has served more than himself. The forge is not only his place of work, it is the hidden hand that steadies the village. The rhythm of the hammer has slowed now. The larger tasks for the village are done, the benches lined with finished pieces waiting to be collected. The forge still breathes, but its fire has dimmed slightly, glowing less fiercely than before. It is in this soft hour that the blacksmith allows himself what the day rarely offers: stillness. And here lies the hook. Why are quiet moments as important as labor itself? He answers, because without pause the mind grows dull and the body weary. Silence sharpens the spirit as the whetstone sharpens the blade. The blacksmith sets the hammer down upon the bench. Its handle is darkened by years of use, its head worn smooth by countless blows. He looks at it as though seeing it anew, considering how much of his life is carried in this simple tool. Each mark upon it speaks of hours spent in labor, of pieces shaped, of days long past. Why reflect upon tools when they are meant only for use? He answers, because in them lies the memory of the hand. A tool is not alive, yet it bears the trace of those who wield it, the rhythm of their work, the care of their craft. The forge is still hot, but for the first time in hours, it is quiet. The bellows rest, the fire murmurs softly, no longer roaring. The air, though heavy with heat, feels strangely calm. The blacksmith leans against the bench. listening not to the ring of iron, but to the gentler sounds around him, the faint creak of the beams, the muted call of a bird outside, the distant rumble of a cart on the lane. He asks, is silence emptiness, or is it fullness of another kind? He answers, it is fullness. In silence one hears what is usually hidden, the beat of one's own breath, the subtle turning of the world, the quietness of thought itself. For a few minutes the blacksmith closes his eyes. He does not sleep, though the stillness invites it. Instead, he simply lets the moments pass, without measure, without urgency. The forge does not mind. The iron will wait. A sip of water from the jug refreshes him. His arms, though weary, feel steadier for the pause. His breath slows, the weight of the long day easing, if only slightly. He looks once more at the fire, noting how it glows in soft waves, as if content with its own rhythm. Why does even a brief pause feel like renewal? He answers, because rest is not the absence of work, but the partner of it. Work shapes the body, rest restores it. Together they keep the craft alive. These quiet moments are fleeting, but they are enough. Soon the hammer will rise again, the bellows will breathe, the iron will glow. But for now, the forge is a place of calm, a place where even labor makes room for stillness. The light outside begins to soften. Shadows stretch across the lane, and the air cools slowly after the long wait of the afternoon. Inside the workshop, the forge still glows, though its fire has quieted, no longer roaring, but murmuring like embers content to rest. The blacksmith knows the day is nearing its end. And here lies the hook. What makes the closing of a day feel different from its beginning? They'll both hold the same fire, the same hammer, the same work. He answers, because in the morning all is potential, while in the evening all is memory. The forge has given it strength, and now it asks only for rest. He sets aside the hammer, placing it carefully on the bench. It rests now as he does, its handle warm from his hand, its head dark with use. He gathers the finished pieces, a hinge for a carpenter, a hook for a farmer, a rim for a wheelwright, and lays them neatly aside, ready to be collected. Each object will leave the forge tomorrow, finding its place in the village, carrying the quiet strength of the day's labor. Why take such care in ending the day when the tools will be taken up again tomorrow? He answers, because order at the end is the gift that greets the next morning. A bench set in order is a promise to the self, a gentle welcome when the work begins anew. The blacksmith tends the fire one last time, spreading the coals, letting them die down slowly. He does not snuff them entirely. A faint glow is left, a seed of warmth that will make the next day's fire quicker to rise. The forge rests, but never fully sleeps. Outside, the village grows quieter. Voices soften, animals settle, and the last carts roll homeward along the road. The day has given all it could, and now the evening gathers it gently in silence. The blacksmith asks, is the value of the day measured in what was made, or in the steadiness with which it was lived? He answers, in both. The iron speaks in its finished form, but the hand speaks in its patience, its endurance, its rhythm. Both are needed. He steps to the doorway of the workshop, leaning for a moment against the frame. The air outside is cooler now, touched with the scent of earth and grass. He breathes deeply, the first true breath, not thick with smoke or heat. The sky is painted with muted colors, orange fading to gray, the first stars just beginning to show. The forge behind him glows faintly, the anvil resting in silence, the hammer waiting for morning. He knows tomorrow will be much the same as today, and the day after will follow in its pattern. Yet he feels no weariness in that thought. Instead, he finds comfort. For in the repetition, in the rhythm of labor and rest, the days build quietly into a life. Why does a quiet day matter when it may pass unnoticed by others? He answers, because a life is not built only of grand events, but of countless quiet days. Each one, steady and plain, lays the foundation for all that follows. And so, as the day ends, the blacksmith closes the door of the forge. The sound of the hammer fades, the glow of the fire softens, and the village settles into stillness. Tomorrow will come, and with it the rhythm will begin again. But for now the forge rests, and so does he.